Hello and welcome to First Impressions. This is a show where each week my co-host Dash Hooper and I evaluate an album we've never heard before. After playing it, we take notes and rate it in a variety of categories. And the album we're going to be looking at tonight is Yankee Foxtrot Hotel, or is it Yankee Hotel Foxtrot? I always mix them up.
I got Yankee Hotel Foxtrot.
Yankee Hotel Foxtrot. Sorry, Yankee Hotel Foxtrot. The 2001 or 2002 album, depending on how you look at it, by Wilco. And we'll, of course, explain what that all means. But yes, Yankee Hotel Foxtrot. Say it. Don't get it wrong. Damn you, Wilco. Make a name that doesn't fuck me all up. All right. And we added a new category tonight. But when we get there, we'll talk about it because I was just... As I read the lyric sheet, which thankfully they gave me, bought the vinyl, included the lyric sheet, always send out the props when a band doesn't make me go on stinkinggenius.com or try to read them on Spotify. And it'll be like, sorry, these lyrics haven't been added yet, or they haven't added the movement. So you just got to try to read them. So props for a lyric sheet. I am always a fan of that. And it came with one. Yeah. So Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, like I meant the first time, by Wilco. And we're going to dig into this one because I did this one. I was able to find a lot of different podcasts and things like that to kind of get into the research of this particular band and album. But we'll start, like always, with the history of the artist. And this is kind of our quick history. There's plenty of good podcasts out there where you can hear about the full history, where, from the Uncle Tupelo to, the friction between the members, Jay Farrar and Jeff Tweedy. We're not going into all that. I mean, there's a lot to it. There's a huge story that we could spend an hour on just talking about that and the severe beef between the two of them.
Is there a band? Let me be honest. Is there a band without a beef? Literally, I want somebody to answer that. Is there a band without a beef?
I don't know. I mean, Radiohead seems to be pretty peaceful, I'll have to say. I mean, it's like they kind of do their thing, but you don't ever hear. There might be internal beef, but we don't hear about it. It's not aired. Where it's not like, the Jeff Tweedy, Jeff Farrar thing where Jay Farrar thing, and they asked Jay Farrar, oh, what do you think of the Wilco stuff? He's like, I've never heard it. It's like he's pulling the whole, I, like Mariah Carey said about J-Lo. Well, I don't know who that is. So yeah, it's like he's just talking shit to the bitter end. So I mean, I'm sure there's bands. I mean, I think plenty of bands have beef. A lot of them hide it better than others, and some we don't hear about it, but I'm sure behind closed doors, they're knocking each other around because they're sick of things. But some of them are quieter about it. But, Jeff Tweedy of Wilco's written multiple books, so he's airing his dirty laundry. And then there's a whole book about Uncle Tupelo and the kind of formation to the death of them. So there's a lot
to get these books,
a lot written. Yeah, there's some. I was listening to one of them as an audiobook on my run. I didn't get through the whole thing, but just kind of listened to the tail end of it to kind of hear the Wilco or the Uncle Tupelo into Wilco and Sunvolt kind of branch. So Wilco formed in 1994 from the ashes of alt country pioneers Uncle Tupelo. And Uncle Tupelo's kind of coined the phrase alt country. Right. So there's their first album. It's oh gosh, damn it, I can't think of the name of it. But they named the zine that is all about alt country and still published. That was created because of Uncle Tupelo and alt country. Now we've covered multiple albums considered alt country, but Uncle Tupelo's kind of the ones that made the term come into existence, and now lots of bands have followed it. And from what I know, there's also beef between Ryan Adams and Jeff Tweedy. So who knows? Two alt country people butting heads. But I didn't even dig into that beef. It's like I did enough. Just going into the history of this album took me hours of research. So there's a lot that went on with this one. So like we can read about the Ryan Adams beef, but Uncle Tupelo was formed by Jay Farrar and Jeff Tweedy, and they found it progressively more difficult to work together. It just got worse and worse up until the point that Farrar broke off, went on to form Sunvol, and Jeff Tweedy went on to form Wilco. And the first couple Wilco albums are more straight ahead alt country, where if you listen to them, you can hear the alt country bass. But as Wilco progressed, Jeff Tweedy kind of wanted to break off more from that alt country label and started to do things that were more experimental, which the album we're going to be covering is kind of the culmination of their experimental work, which then broke the band apart, and the lineup shuffled a whole bunch from there. But yeah, the release of Summer Teeth, and that was the album that began the experimentation. And then when the album we're talking about tonight, Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, is where it fully got experimental, as we'll discuss when we get there. It's, kind of your alt, if you want to call them alt country, even though he doesn't like the term, the alt country Kid A, but I'm sure Jeff Tweedy would put me off for saying it. So
I mean, even when I looked it up, they even have it under alt or alt rock or indie rock is what they have.
Yeah, it kind of moved into that. They kind of broke off from the alt country. And if you see them live, it's still got more of those alt country vibes when they play, because a lot of the experimental stuff, the wacky instrumentation that they used they don't bring it into a live setting. There's no, beer bottle xylophones that they're using when they're playing live, or, toy pianos. I mean, it's a wild mix of stuff that they use that we'll talk about when we get there. But he was working with Jay Bennett, and this collaboration, he collaborated on 3 albums with them, and Wilco fans generally look at those as kind of the peak Wilco. And I honestly haven't dug through the Wilco catalog at all. This is the first full Wilco album I've ever played. So I don't know if it's their best 3, their worst 3. I mean, I know they've now kind of been, I think Jeff Tweedy would be happy to be called alt country again instead of their new label, Dad Rock. I think he would feel less happy about being dubbed the Dad Rock Pioneers than alt country. But
who comes up with these names? Somebody, is this the Spotify generation that comes up with these names?
I think Dad Rock came from Pitchfork, is where it kind of got popularized when the review of one of their albums, which, by the way, Pitchfork, fuck off with your new pay me to read your review system. Yeah. That's some bullshit. I was going to read the review for this album, like I always do if Pitchfork has one. Yeah, and there it is. It gave me 3/4 of the article, obscured the score, and said to read the rest and to add your own score, pay us $5 a month. Just like Rolling Stone. Dicks. No, I'm not here for that. You've been free. I've been reading you since I was, first getting into 2000s indie rock for free. Now you want to charge me for that shit? I mean, Rolling Stone at its inception was a pay magazine, so it doesn't irk me as much. But even that, it went from a free website to a not free website. So, man, Pitchfork. I mean, there's ways around it, and I found them. But come on now, it's not cool.
You're right.
So yes, just we know the Pitchfork score because, like I said, there's ways around it. But come on now, I don't want to have to pay to read reviews. But there we are. Now 2 websites that we use are making us pay. But yeah, where was I? I'm way off already. All right. So they Jay Bennett, who came in on their second album, it was kind of, this is considered their culminating work, Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, but it was also the end of their work. I mean, they could no longer be in the same room together. They managed to get through the album, but that was that. And Jay Bennett went on to leave the band and unfortunately passed away from an overdose in 2009. So it didn't end well for their relationship or for Jay Bennett altogether. So you think the Jays in his life, he does not get along very well with. So right. Jeff Tweedy needs to just avoid bringing any Jays into the band in the future.
What up, John?
All right. So the band has gone on to record 13 studio albums. They've won 2 Grammys, one of them for Best Album Design for their album that's just an egg. So I'm like, all right. I mean, I guess the Academy thought that egg, that's innovation right there.
Whatever.
It's literally just a friggin' egg. I mean, Wilco fans, they're a rabid bunch of people, the Wilco fans. I'm discovering this. And they will basically kiss the boot and say everything is great. And, you know, whatever. They can have it. It's a fucking egg. It's not that great. But it won a Grammy, so... And then they've won a Grammy for Best Alternative as well, which is more... I mean, I don't know. I don't think of what they won the first time as that innovative, but that's just me. And the lineup has had constant changes, although it's kind of solidified recently. I think their last 4 albums or so. And if you're a Wilco diehard, please feel free to correct me in the comments, because I am just kind of dipping my toes in the Wilco universe, so I am no expert by any means. So I know there's been lots of changes. Jeff Tweedy and bassist Jeff Striot, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing it, are the only 2 original members left, or John Striot, and John also played in Uncle Tupelo, so he's kind of followed him the whole way through. So those are the only 2 core members. Now they have, I know Nels Klein has joined the band, and they've had a pretty solid lineup for a string of years, but in the beginning there was a lot of turnover. So yeah, there's my kind of quick history on Wilco. If you, like I said, there's plenty of material out there that you can dig into that will go into, you know, the history of Uncle Tupelo all the way through Wilco's early years, and you know, seek it out if you're a diehard. I'm just, you know, dabbing in this universe, and we'll be moving on to the next universe next week. So that's how we go. We don't spend too much time in any particular place, but I listened to a lot of hours of podcasts and things about this album and this band. And yeah, the album's got a wild history. This particular album, there's a documentary called "We're Trying to Break Your Heart." I didn't watch much of it. It was black and white. I was getting bored and I turned it off. So forgive me for not watching the whole documentary, because it was just, the vibes are just very, I don't even say dark, but it's just, you can feel the negativity in the recording session. So it's like, do I want to spend an hour and a half in that universe? I chose to pass. So you can watch it. It's free on YouTube. So seek it out if you want to. And you can watch a black and white documentary of squabbling Midwestern dudes. That's basically what you get. So, but the album does have a wild history. The recording began in 2000. So yeah. So it was recorded in Wilco's loft, basically. Wilco has a Chicago loft where they brought in 20 unique, weird, odd instruments. There was the beer bottle xylophones, a toy piano. They brought in like transistor radios and were playing CDs, and ended up getting sued by the person who compiled them all onto a CD, even though he just recorded them off of radio. So it was settled out of court. We don't know what happened. I'm sure both signed their NDAs to move on with it.
Oh, yeah.
But during the recording, they fired their original drummer, Ken Coomer, and he was originally from Uncle Tupelo as well. So you can kind of see which the Uncle Tupelo side that went with Wilco, the Uncle Tupelo side that went and formed Sunvolt. And Sunvolt, if you listen, kind of just, they're perfectly fine being an alt country band. They haven't changed their style up dramatically, where Wilco did a lot more experimentation. And it just kind of shows where you can see where, even if they didn't break up on such ugly terms, they didn't have the same vision of what they wanted in the future for the band, where,
right,
you know, Jay Farrar was fine being, you know, an alt country band, and you have Jeff Tweedy, who wanted to do more. He wanted more experimentation. So they fired Ken Coomer and they brought in Glenn Koch, and they also brought in Jim O'Rourke, and they were in a side project called Loose Fur that Jeff Tweedy formed, and it was a more experimental thing. And he brought them in to kind of bring those vibes into the Wilco album, and that's kind of where the tempers began to flare with Jay Bennett not liking more voices in there and thinking his voice was being stifled too much. So they couldn't agree on anything. If you watch the documentary, you'll see it. I mean, that you can see them very mildly, that they're like the calmest arguments ever, but you just feel that level of uncomfortable. It's like The Office turned up to 11, where it's just like, oh, I feel uncomfortable watching this, as they're arguing between, the noise that's going to go between two different songs, and just the agreeing to disagree, but no one ever really getting their way. But just like I said, it's the calmest aggression you'll ever see, and I think that's what makes it even more awkward to watch.
It's a little scary. I mean, you could be silent and still have some vicious words.
Yeah, and there you can tell there is no love between the two of them. They're getting through it, but the process, it definitely broke them. So he made it through the entire album. Jay Bennett got through the entire recording session and then left immediately when the album was finished. Didn't tour for the album at all. Wasn't there. I don't think he was even there for the point in time when it got its proper release. Right. So he brought in Jim O'Rourke, who was known for his work with Sonic Youth. I don't know if he'd worked with Sonic Youth at that point yet, but Stereolab, he did more experimental stuff, and he would bring in kind of weird soundscapes and noise. And he warned them. He said, look, you can bring me in, but it's going to get you dropped from your label. So he knew, okay, this isn't going to be what the label wants. And he was right. He warned the band, and when they turned in their album to Reprise Records, they hated it. They didn't give notes. They weren't saying, okay, here's some ideas, here's some suggestions, here's how we can make it better. They just said, this album will destroy your career. We don't want you. We don't want it. You're off the label. And then after Wilco's manager fought with the label for a little bit, the label just ended up handing it over to them. They didn't even keep the masters. They handed the masters over to Wilco, said, do with it what you want, but this is going to destroy your band. Just wait. So essentially, they wanted nothing to do with it, so much so that they didn't even hold the masters. And that's something that happens to a lot of bands. Like, they'll record an album and the studio won't release it, but they'll also hold those masters and trap them so they have literally nothing. So Reprise didn't want it, and they gave it back to them. So the band decided to just put it on their website for free. So if you went to their website, it was September 18th, 2001. They dropped it on the website, and it started getting buzz. Fans were singing along with songs at concerts that hadn't even been released. Critics were giving it high acclaim, and None Such Records then went over to them and signed them. And None Such, the crazy thing, is owned by Warner Brothers, the same record label as Reprise. So Warner Brothers owns both record labels. So essentially, Warner Brothers paid for this record twice. So they paid to create it, then they sent it off, and then they had to pay to bring it back under their umbrella. So it got its proper release September 18th, 2002. So that's why it's 2001 or 2002, or not September 18th. Sorry. It was, it was in 2002. September 18th was the release of the online, but it got released and then got highly praised, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But yes, it got released properly in physical form, and Warner Brothers got to buy it 2 times. So let me see.
Don't they have an auditor for that crap?
Yeah, so they should. And it was April 23rd, 2002 that None Such released it. Yeah, I had to get that. My notes. I wrote both things twice. So there we go. So reviews for the album. And this is one of those ones that didn't start with bad reviews and then end up getting good reviews. This one started very strong. Reviews for the album were extremely strong. If you look at Metacritic, it sits at 87%. Rolling Stone, what could you guess? 4 out of 5, of course. What does Rolling Stone give but 4 out of 5? They did praise it, but yeah, not, give it their 4 out of 5. Pitchfork, on the other hand, lost their
6.3.
shit. No, 10.
Wow.
Pitchfork dropped it as a perfect 10. Rolling Stone has since revised their review, and now it's got a 5-star if you look at their current one, and it does rank number 225 on the top 500 albums of all time on Rolling Stone. Although our guy Robert Christgau was not impressed. He wrote a 1-sentence review and gave it 1 star. Yeah, he wrote a very nonsensical review. I got to pull it up. It's funny.
I figure Pitchfork gave it that high because they probably feel like it's more political than it really is.
I think Pitchfork just at that time in Pitchfork, we're talking the early 2000s Pitchfork, they just liked anything weird and esoteric. I mean,
that's a good point.
They gave a perfect 10 to Kid A. I mean, these were the kind of albums that they lost their shit for. And it's funny because they loved when it came out, the Sunny Day Real Estate album. Now I'm blanking, but they loved the album and then they hid the review because they didn't want to love it.
Right.
So they didn't want to be known as the people that liked regular things. So yes, here's Robert Christgau's review. Pretty music, but I yawn like a lawn when I hear him recite. So yeah. So he wrote that, and I'm thinking, all right, he's just trying to write some lyrics like Jeff Tweedy does in this album. So he's like, I'm going to write a review that's nonsensical and makes no sense because some of the lyrics don't make much sense.
They don't make much sense at all.
Yeah. So
that was hard too. I mean, there are some good lyrics, but it was hard to decipher some of them when you especially like you said, it's a first listen. The first listen is a little rough.
Yeah.
And
it's not an easy first listen by any means. Where some albums you hear, you're just like, ooh, I'm in for this. And this one, you just kind of like, oh, dang, I don't know. So yeah, there you go. How It Feels to Be Something On. I could not remember that. I mean, I've heard the album many times, but then I get on and my brain moves. But yeah, they loved it. Then they pretended they didn't love it. But the internet doesn't hide your shit, Pitchfork. Yeah. You can still find it even if you want me to pay. I can find the reviews that you scrubbed where you hated the album the first time, then you loved it. So the internet lives. You can't hide everything.
That's like saying you're dating a girl, but then you go online and say, I'm not dating her, but you really are still dating her.
Yeah. So that's what they want to pretend is they called it their best album of the year. And then they're like, oh, wait, it's not cool to like emo bands. So we're going to pretend we didn't like this. And we'll like Wilco instead. But yeah, it's 87% on Rotten Tomatoes, on Metacritic, and it did go on to sell 590,000 copies. So, I mean, Warner got their money back. That's good sales for the 2000s, especially. That's kind of the dawn of the digital download era. So that's solid numbers for that time frame. And it's been listed. I mean, it made a lot of the top lists of best albums of the year that year. It was, put into all the, retrospective lists. It's on the 1,001 albums to listen to before you die, Rolling Stone's top list. So it's made a lot of traction. And yeah, that knowing all that, we'll kind of let you know our thoughts. But first off, what is your history with Wilco?
This album. I'll be straight up honest. This album. I mean, I know of Tweedy, but like it was just never on my radar. The 2000s, I was still deep into probably country because it hadn't quite become bro country yet, and so. But I was just around that time though. I was picking up on other like Breaking Benjamin and all those, and that's where I was really starting. And I give credit to Smallville for opening me up to a lot of bands at that time. But I knew who Tweedy was. I just Wilco never just ever crossed my path. Yeah, ever. Not because I dislike it or in a bad way. It just never did.
Yeah.
So this was my first time with Wilco.
Okay. Yeah. For me, I know them. I have a friend who's a huge Wilco fan, and he's, had me go with him a couple times to a few of their concerts. So I actually know Wilco live more than I know them on the studio, because this is quite literally the first studio album I've heard of theirs. I've seen them live, I think twice. So I know the songs that they would play live, but in general, didn't really seek them out. Like I would see them live, and it was after the show. It wasn't compelling me to go seek out the catalog. Right. I'm not saying, okay, that blew my mind. I need to go get more of this. And I guess when this would have come out, I was definitely into a lot of underground stuff, but I was also kind of the contrarian. And when everybody's like, you have to listen to this, when Pitchfork tells me I need to listen to it, I'm like, meh, I'm not gonna listen to you. Can't tell me what to do, Pitchfork. You're not the boss of me. So I kind of didn't seek out the album because everyone told me I needed to seek it out. And I don't know. I just think
nothing wrong with being a contrarian.
Yeah, and it was, and it's just, it was such the hipsters album, and the things I don't want to listen to is what the hipsters are telling me I need to listen to. I mean, I guess Kid A is a little different, even though that was definitely the hipsters' choice. But I was into Radiohead far before that album came out, where I had started with Radiohead. I mean, of course, everyone knew Creep. You couldn't avoid that one. But I was big into the Bins and OK Computer. So I was going to follow the line of Radiohead one way or the other. And I followed it with Kid A, even though it became the hipsters' choice. And, some the hipsters will always say that that's their greatest album, and they're wrong. It's OK Computer. And fight me.
Well, that's why I had OK Computer as one of my top, because I had that album over choosing if you had to get rid of one, and I chose to keep. You had to get rid of 3 and keep, and I kept I kept Computer because it's the better album.
Yeah, that's one of my top 5 of all time albums. Yeah. So it's one of those things where I mean, I appreciate what they did with Kid A, that they wanted to change things up. And the same's kind of true with what happened with this album. Is Jeff Tweedy just didn't want to stay in the same exact place. He wanted to change. That's why he brought in more experimental musicians like Jim O'Rourke, and he wanted to do something different. And that's why they did 20 or more strange instruments that didn't typically get used, because he just wanted something different. And lyrically, he approached it differently, where these aren't kind of your straight ahead songs. There's a couple that are just straight ahead songs, lyrically, musically, but in general, he just wanted their whole thing was they wanted to destroy the songs and rebuild them and see what happened. That was their whole thought process with this album, is destroy it, build it back, and see what now lives with it. And he even said these are his songs, so it's his right to destroy them if he wants. Now, the record label definitely did not agree. They were not loving destroyed music, and Jim O'Rourke called it when he said that they'd get dropped from their label. But yeah, it's just one of those things where he wanted to do something. He wanted a deconstructed album. And you have to think he heard Kid A and saw all the buzz that came out with Kid A, because Kid A came out a year before this one. Kid A would have come out probably when they started recording this, and he probably looked at that and thought, here's a band that was a straight rock band, when with Creep, especially with Pablo Honey, they're just, a standard, what was looking to be a forgettable 90s band, and they just changed everything. And even though OK Computer was so well regarded, they blew it up. And he probably thought, I can do something like that too. Now, obviously, if you asked him, he might say, no, I didn't even hear Kid A. I don't know what you're talking about. This was my idea before Kid A happened. But you have to think, hearing Kid A and seeing the reaction made him think, we can do the same thing. We have the same power. And I think their next couple albums were also considered more experimental. Then they get into a more kind of regular albums, more acoustic stuff. And he did have, when this album was being recorded, he was dealing with substance abuse issues. Because he had migraines, he was doing a lot of pain pills. So it wasn't, like the 90s heroin or anything like that. It was just abundance of pain pills because of the migraines, and he was also having panic attacks. So he ended up getting into rehab. But this album was when he was still having huge drug issues. So was Jay Bennett. So you also put that into the mix when they're talking about deconstructing an album, and leads to what we're going to talk about today.
Right.
So let's dig into our thoughts. Let's talk about our overall thoughts on this one.
This is I'm so on the fence with this album. There are some definite good songs, but at times it was boring.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to I mean there was just times that I just felt like I wasn't into the album. The first song is okay, but it doesn't really grab you for a while. You're almost like, what's going on here? And that's part of some of that experimental instruments come in. You can hear that specifically in that opening song. And then it's like hit or miss with that first side. And then I think the second side of the album, you really get into some good songs.
Yeah.
And then that's where I felt, but I'm right there with you. Like the first listen is rough. And and what I mean by rough, you're just like, I almost just want to stop listening. You know, I will read an entire book, even if it's bad, but there are times where I'm ready to throw that book down because it's bad. And at first I was thinking about on this album, but the more on my second and third listen through, it's not horrible, but it can still be boring. But there are good songs. Like, don't get me wrong, there are good songs on this album, and I can really enjoy those songs. But if I had to give, just my overall thoughts, it's okay. It's a good listen, and I disagree with Pitchfork. And I don't like Retroactive. I probably would agree more with Rolling Stone's first assessment of it.
Yeah. Well, actually, Pitchfork's given it 10 two times.
Yeah.
So Pitchfork, when it was released, gave it a rare 10.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where Pitchfork doesn't do it often. And this was one of the ones that did it, not as a reissue, but on its first review, it got a 10. Now they've done a reissue review as well, and that also got a 10. But that's when they were reviewing all the bonus material. And we didn't dig into any of that.
So you really gotta wow me. Like I'm doing my listening this year. I'm gonna hit my album but I built a whole spreadsheet, and on my spreadsheet it gives the ranking. I mean, you really at this point I'm up to almost 80 albums this year, and I have 2 5s out of 80. I have 2 5s. So, I mean, you really, again, I know music is subjective, ladies and gentlemen. I understand that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you really got, and again, I just don't know how you can, it just didn't wow me to the point where I could give it a 5. So, and not that we ever give rankings like this, but I'd probably, like I said, I'd probably agree with Rolling Stone's first assessment. I could
not Christgau.
I could probably give it a 4. I probably could give it a 4. And that's stretching it. That's like really tight stretching to that 4. It's like,
So comparatively, where did Shallow Water rank? Because that was our last.
For me, I gave it a 4, but it's sitting at that 4.5.
Okay.
So I don't do half stars on the albums, but Shallow Water's a 4.5. And I think it would have been a 5 had we had just a little bit more songs on there, because I enjoyed that album, and again I mark for different things.
Yeah.
Probably in the grand scheme of things, overall, it would be my third 5 this year.
Okay.
It would be my third 5, but I wanted more. But overall, I mean, I could even I can go Dewey Decimal System and hit that 4 point.
Pitchfork it.
Yeah, I can pitchfork it and go 4.75.
4.6. Yeah, 4.75. So round up to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I wasn't judging one way or the other. I just didn't know how your 5 system ranks. So
my 5, one of my 5s, and I'll give it to you, is an older album, and that's because it has, to me, again, subjectivity, ladies and gentlemen. Um, so it hits the you can still play it. You know what I mean? It's timeless to me,
Yeah.
even though it's an older one, and that is the where here it is. It is Jason Boland and the Stragglers live at Billy Bob's,
Okay.
and it's because on every song on there, A, there's a meaning to it. B, there's some it's just powerful in every way and every story that he tells.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, because every song kind of means a story to me, and it's not that every song on this one doesn't have a story to it. I mean, if we go back into the history of what I looked up, there's definite history on each and every song.
Yeah.
But
I think the lyrics, the styling of the lyrics being so
wild,
abstract,
yeah,
makes it so you don't quite connect to the stories, because the abstract nature of the lyrics makes it so you got like, fuck, I'm putting on my English lit hat to try to decipher a song.
Yes.
So there's something to be said about simplicity. Now, not all the stuff I'd listen to would have that, but a little bit. I guess heavy metal drummer's the only one that kind of moves in a straight line.
Right. It's the most linear. It is probably the most linear song on there, and it's still a good song. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad that was the opening of our show. Was drummer.
Yeah.
But I mean, don't get me wrong, ladies and gentlemen. When my first listen, there were songs I'm like, that's good. Even if I didn't like really grasp the lyrics right at the front, I was like, it's really good because I like the way that the song moved, and the melody, the tones, everything, even the instruments in there. I was like, that moved really good, and I'm like, that's a really good song. So overall, yeah, that's where I'll stick.
Okay. So I was just curious, because I know, I mean, if I had to do my top 5 albums, I could just name like, okay, Computer. There's a 5-star. Siamese Dream, Enema by Tool. There's 3 quick and easy 5-star albums that I could put on anytime, even though they're 20 and 30 years old, and still find enjoyment out of them. But
I think
in the end, it's hard. I'd have to dig deep to find more, but there's plenty. It's just,
I mean, I could throw a lot of my 5-star albums on there, but what I did, and you kind of saw what I did, was ask for a lot. Again, I was asking for a lot more input from people of albums, and so a lot of my upfront loaded albums are ones that were that were requested or suggested. So
so they're new to you.
Yeah, they're new to me, and so I could give them a listen, and it could change over time.
Yeah, and I think the music, that the true 5-star ones, they'll always grow with you.
Yes,
you listen to them the first time and you enjoy them, but they just they have legs, and you don't know what kind of legs an album's going to get, because you always wonder the question, will I be playing this in 10 years?
10 years, yeah.
When you play an album, and we're discovering new stuff all the time, because that's what we do every week. We're pulling out something new, something different. And do we, with these albums, are they ones that we're going to say in 10 years, I'm still going to be playing this, it's still going to be in rotation? We don't know. You can say, oh yeah, I love it, because the right now it's going to hit you, but some albums take longer to grow on you, and maybe this one will be one. Maybe one in a year we're both thinking, wow, this thing really grew with me. But you don't know. It's hard to judge a true 5-star unless you've lived with it for at least a few months.
Like the Cure's new album, the one that the very first one we reviewed, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still a listen. So that one's growing with, but I like the Cure. But there's I call it, everybody calls it recency bias. So we'll have some recency bias on this. I guarantee it. Yeah. You make an excellent point.
Yeah. So I guess, when it comes down to it, where will this album live with us in a few years? Where will we rank it? And in my overall thoughts, I put, it's very odd. It's an esoteric album, and it's a very somber album in tone. Aside from a few songs, it's very somber. And I think when it works, it really works well. And when it doesn't, at least it's trying to be interesting. It's not just, it's not just giving us a Gin Blossoms. It's not just giving us something that's just kind of straight head bop. Here you go. Here's your clean, easy pop. Because one of the podcasts I was listening to was saying Jeff Tweedy could easily be writing Gin Blossom songs.
Absolutely.
Simple pop songs, but he's not content with that. So I think at least he's trying to stay interesting. I think it's one that will grow on me more because the first listen, I wasn't, gushing like Pitchfork. I was more in the Robert Christgau thing. Like, all right, you're trying to be too clever, Jeff Tweedy. Knock that shit off. And I started, oh my gosh, when we get into our bonus category, I really put on the English lit hat and was dissecting his songs. And sometimes I'm like, nope, that's still bullshit. I don't care how much I dig into it. It's just ridiculous. But before we get to that, let's dig into our best songs. What's one of your favorites on this one?
It's probably everybody's favorite, but Jesus, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I mean, that's one of the ones when my first listen through, I was like, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good. Mm-hmm. And it is it's plays in your mind as you're listening to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's you're just like, okay, and when we get to the lyrics, I'll bring what I mean by that by that up. But it's just a good little song. And it's I believe it's like close to the end of the first side, getting to the second side, if I remember right. I like that was one of mine, and then I'll do my other two, and that way. But and then I liked I am trying to break your heart.
Mm-hmm.
That one was weird. It was weird in a way, but it was good weird.
Yeah.
Like I like, this is not going to be your pop song. Like you were saying, he could go and he could easily turn this into a Gin Blossoms or something like that. So this was a good indie, very good indie song.
Yeah.
And I just it's a good song. And then finally, I think Camera. Most people don't like Camera. I because I was doing my research and things like that. Most people didn't like Camera, but I thought Camera was a decent little.
Yeah, it's kind of almost a straight ahead pop song with just a hint of the weirdness, but I thought it worked. I thought it's fun for what it is. It's just, I think, with the wild experimentation that the album brings in, people don't want the kind of the Gin Blossoms-y kind of song, because that one could easily, with one tweak or two, could easily be just kind of that boppy 90s rock.
Yeah, they're walking down the street type song, like the 90s love to do with the Verve and Gin Blossoms and all those. So that's probably why I kind of did, it gave me that vibe, like you said. And it's probably the poppiest song on there that I do like.
Okay.
Because I did enjoy, some of the weirder takes on the album.
Yeah, I agree. So let's see, what ones did I have done? The first one I did have, I'm Trying to Break Your Heart. So
it's a good song.
I have beef with some of the lyrics that go straight to cringe, and we'll talk about those later. But I think it's a good opener to let you know what you're in for. So it's, if you started with something like Camera, it would almost deceive the listener to think, all right, we're going to be getting a kind of straight ahead pop album, and with just a little tweaking, and instead you get I'm Trying to Break Your Heart, and it just lets itself be known, like, this is gonna be a wild ride. You're in for a strange album. It's not standard alt country, that's gone. So if that's what people were expecting, they know, all right, it's that expectation is gone. So it's, strange instrumentation, his kind of weird, almost stream of consciousness, poetic lyrics. And it kind of, as I was listening to it, at first I was just like, what the fuck is this guy even talking about? But then it kind of hit me. Like it seems like a guy who's just kind of walking down the street. He's pissed off, and something just happened with him, with his girl. And he's just walking around muttering a bunch of nonsense. And we seen this guy, we go to the other side of the street when we see him coming down the street. He's like, oh, I assassin down the avenue, motherfucker. Like, he is a raving lunatic. That's why some of these bullshit lyrics are like, I'll excuse them, because it's the ravings of a lunatic who's walking down the street. He knows he's messed up everything beyond repair, and it's got these somber vibes, and he's just pissed and he's gonna let everybody know it. So he assassins down the avenue, or assassins down the street. I wrote those in my odd lyrics to talk about later, but as soon as I thought that, I'm like, okay, first off, you verbed a noun, but
he verbed a noun, didn't he?
So we'll talk about that later. I'm like, yeah, he's an angry dude. He's storming down the street. Everyone's gonna go away from him as he's muttering all this nonsense, because they're like, ooh, that dude, he's a mess. Stay away from him. Go on the other side of the street, because this guy is a maniac. So when I put it in this context, I'm like, okay, I appreciate it. And I'll even appreciate your ridiculous lyrics, because it's the ravings of a madman who's lost it, who's broken, and now he's trying to come to grips with it. So I liked it. It especially when I couch metaphored it, and I pictured, I just visualize him storming down the street, people getting out of his way, because like, oh man, that guy's lost it. So yeah, I don't understand a word he's saying. He's out of his mind. So yes, that's where I came to with that song. So I also liked Radio Cure. I thought that was kind of wild. Like when he talked about destroying the songs and rebuilding it, that feels like a deconstructed lament, and it doesn't go in any of the ways you expect it to go. And I loved that about it. I mean, Jesus, etc. It's definitely, if you look, it's their most streamed song, and it's for a reason. It's got the melody, the great strings. It's a love song, but it's not just a straight ahead love song. I mean, the odd lyrics work for this one, but the tone, the vibe let you know exactly the emotion that it's invoking. And yeah, just it's a great one. It's their top stream song for a reason. And I do like Heavy Metal Drummer. I think that it's kind of it honestly, to me, it feels like a Pavement song. So the first time I heard it, I was listening to it on satellite radio on the indie station, and I thought it was a Pavement song. I'm like, oh, is that a Pavement song? Like, nope, it's Wilco, and it's a very kind of un-Wilco for this album, just kind of a straight ahead, bop your head pop song about, his nostalgia for those, those fun concerts, those, jamming with his friends, all those things. He's kind of looking back and looking nostalgically on them, even if that was with Jay Farrar and now they want to strangle each other. So I enjoyed that one. So let's dig into our next category, and that's going to be best lyrics. So what are some lyrics that stood out to you on this one?
Jesus, etc. is very, very wild.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, a lot of the lyrics can be kind of out there, but tall building shakes, voices escape, singing sad songs, turn to chords, strung down your cheeks, bitter melodies, turning your orbit around. Whatever is going on with him, is wild.
Yeah,
but I can appreciate the lyrics at this, because he's trying to be poetic. It's you're not getting a full blown like sentence lyric. You're getting poetic lyrics.
Yeah, that we know he's happy in this relationship. Unlike the first one, unlike I'm trying to break your heart, he's not the storming maniac walking down the street and making people go to the other side.
He's in
he's in love, and he's just like, oh, I'm just gonna say all these amazing things because
Yeah.
this is so great.
Almost as again, you can look at lyrics but it's almost like he's praising that he's very happy for once.
Yeah.
Is the way I felt like finally he's in love, he's happy. I just thought that the tall building shake voice. I love that. Thought that was pretty cool. And then there's no real. It's not like he's writing awesome in this because it's pretty much the same lyrics over and over again until you get kind of to the end. But and then I like our voices whine. Skyscrapers are scraping together. Your voice is smoking. Last cigarette or all you can get. Turn your orbit around. Again, this is a dude that's just smitten. He's really smitten. And so I just thought, again, we're not going into too much depth as far as lyrics go, but this would be a good one. Like you said, you have to put on your English major hat, your creative writing hat.
Yeah.
And you have to sit there and go, okay, what is he talking about here?
Yeah.
And I just thought, you get it. And I'm trying to keep away from, because in some of the chorus, you kind of really get what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And I want you to I wanted you to hear, or the people that are listening, I wanted you to hear the lyrics that you're kind of, what is he talking about? What does he mean? To get that. And I thought that was very well done in that one.
Yeah. And I had some lyrics from that one too. I had where you were right about the stars. Each one is a setting sun, and our love is all of God's money. Everyone is a burning sun. So that's where it's kind of, all right, our love is God's money. So that's where you get the little, I mean, they're very, he's definitely writing from like a poet spitting, spewing out lyrics. And we did Bob Dylan, and he's definitely more poet than musician, if you ask me, but that's just my opinion. But sometimes it gets too much. I mean, I guess it's, when you get a song that's 16 minutes long and just feels like it'll never end, these ones don't quite hit that length of just frustration, but you can still, there's a lot to interpret. And I like that in this. So I had those lyrics, but you could pretty much grab any lyrics from this song and it's going to work.
This is one that, like I said, if you just threw not the melody, not anything, and you would probably not understand the lyrics.
Yeah.
I think this is one that works well when you have both of them mixed together.
Yeah. I mean, you can't have it to be entirely esoteric, deconstructed lyrics, because then you're not going to have anybody. I mean, you have to have understandable lyrics where what he's talking about, where it's not just, okay, I don't understand anything on this album, because people want to emotionally connect with an album.
Absolutely.
And if there's nothing to connect to, it's not going to work. And even though Jesus, etc., has lyrics that can be more out there, it still works because you connect with the emotion of the song and the emotion of the instrumentation, and then the lyrics in there that are enough to let you know, okay, this is what's going on. And you don't have to be, deep poet, interpretation to understand it. You can understand it from its basic tone. So I think that's what works, where some of the songs are just like, okay, they're not working for me. I don't get you.
Oh yeah. That's, I mean, 100%.
So did you have any other lyrics?
Yeah, I got one more. Because I'm the man who loves you. I thought it's a good song. The lyrics are better.
Okay.
To me. But I all I can be is a busy sea of spinning wheels, and hands that feel for stones to throw, and feet that run but come back home. It makes no difference ever known, makes no difference ever known to me. So again, he's telling you how much he loves this, he loves her. And but why this doesn't really, this is one of those, I can appreciate the rest of the songs because you're getting some it's making me think with the lyrics. This one was kind of straight up. That one in Camera and a couple, were kind of straight up lyrics. But I just thought that was a really cool like I want to say that to my, I want to say that to my wife sometime.
Yeah.
All I can be is a busy sea of spinning wheels. Like, again, his poetic side comes out.
Yeah.
In this, I didn't care too much because it was still kind of I wasn't looking for love. So you know what I'm seeing? I wasn't looking for love songs on this, especially after a couple of the, and you'll probably bring them up, but I wasn't looking for too much love on this one.
Yeah.
And it's fine if it has it, but that wasn't the mood that I wanted from this album, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think it works as a whole just because it kind of moves through all these things. But when you pull the songs out, sometimes isolated, they don't work as well as they do
better as an
with
album.
the whole.
Yeah, it works better as an album.
Yeah.
But certain songs you're just like, no.
Yeah. I'd say so.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. I had just one little thing in Radio Cure. Oh, distance has no way of making love understandable. Although I kept hearing it, distance has a way, and it's no way. But I think about it, I was like, okay, I do understand where he's coming from, where it's like, okay, you think, okay, now that we're farther away, our love's going to get stronger because we miss each other, and the distance still isn't making things making it understandable. So yeah, you got to pull out the hat on that one. And then I did like on Heavy Metal Drummer when he said, I miss the innocence I've known, playing Kiss covers, beautiful and stoned, unlock my body and move myself to dance, moving warm liquid, flowing, blowing glass, classical music blasting masks the ringing in my ears. So it's just kind of that nostalgia. Just you think about him, he's thinking about, he's in high school and just all that fun that he was having, and just kind of looking back on that.
That makes that one of the best. It does make that one of the best songs on the album, in my opinion, because you do get the huge nostalgia vibes, and it's just it is a good. And that was the second one where you're just like, man, that is a really good song. You're just, I mean,
it's a good pop song. It's a
good song,
a good straight ahead pop song, and it's kind of, you think of like. We did Bryan Adams, we did Ryan Adams, we did all those Adams. But Bryan Adams was Summer of '69. And it's just that nostalgic look at high school, at being a kid, at being a teenager. And I think this is kind of that Midwestern, you're in a town, but what you have the music there for you. It's kind of a same sentiment as that. And it works well. And I think you get that in a lot of songs, like 1979 from Smashing Pumpkins, another one that's kind of looking back on the great moments of being younger. Even if things are messy now, you look back in the happy nostalgic moments. So I liked that one for that. And then, then let me see. I think I had War on War, and I almost put this one in my "What Are You Talking About" lyrics, but he said, "You are not my typewriter, but you could be my demon moving forward through the flaming doors." And I thought about it. It's like, okay, he's saying you are not my muse, where you're not my typewriter and you're my demon. So basically, instead of you being my muse, you're destroying me and you're moving me toward the same hell that you've created. So I liked that one. When I dug more into it, I'm like, okay, I'm here with this. You're not going into the "What Are You Talking About" category, because I was able to get that one.
Yeah.
And then Reservations. How can I get closer and be further away from the truth that proves it's beautiful to lie? Like, okay, I like that. I mean, the lyrics are very poetic, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. So yeah, we'll dig into that one next. I sent Dash this category, I think it was yesterday, and that is, what the hell is Tweety talking about? So we're going to ask, what is he talking about? Some of the lyrics, like I said, I just made sense of those lyrics in my mind. I might have completely botched the interpretation. And if you think I did, feel free to let me know. Because that's the one thing is, as an English lit major, as someone who had to study poetry, short stories, long novels, everything, you were really not going to be marked wrong as long as you could justify your interpretation. There was no wrong interpretation. as long as you were ready to give some proof that you could back up. And that's where we stand on any kind of lyric interpretation, especially poetry. You aren't wrong as long as you can prove in your heart why you are right. Now, the author, Jeff Tweedy, might look at it and go, "You're completely wrong. That's not what I meant at all." But once you put something into the world, you put your music, you put your poetry, you put your writing into the world, you have given it to others to interpret. Right. And they can be equally right, even if you know they're wrong, because it's how it hits them. It's how they connect with it. So that's kind of where we stand. And when we get into what is Tweedy talking about, did you have any lyrics for this one?
It might, well, a song title, one, and we'll talk about that one in a second. In Radio Cure, I kind of get picking apples for the kings and queens of things I've never seen. Oh, the distance has no way of making love understandable. I feel like I know what he's talking about, but I don't. Does that make sense?
I do. It does. And I had that one as well. When it was the picking apples for the kings and queens of things I've never seen. It's just like, I don't even know how I'm going to interpret that.
Yeah,
like you're going T.S. Eliot on me now, where I just shrug my shoulders like, all right.
I didn't say T.S. Eliot. I went with Walt Whitman, but
there you go.
We'll go Eliot as well. I mean, we know what we kind of know what Radio Cure's about. It's like he's forlorn. He's like, there's something wrong with me, but like he says in the opening, there is something wrong with me, but I almost feel like he's gaslighting.
Yeah. And
I could be wrong, but
certain things like that one, the picking apples for the kings and queens of things I've never seen. I thought, I don't know how to even interpret this one. I mean, a lot of these ones I've played with and I've thought about, and I guess, you know what, if nothing else, you can say this album's forcing us to think. It's forcing us to decipher and decode, and that's successful, because there's certain albums I don't want to spend any more time with. I don't care what they're saying. It doesn't concern me, and I'm ready to move on. So the fact that we are spending the time with it, and we made it, like, what are you talking about? And I had to think about it. And if I could come up with no answer, it's all right, Mr. Tweedy, you're just fucking with us now. It's okay.
And I think
he's laughing behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I think you brought it up and you explained it good, so I kind of took it off. But I had you are not my typewriter, but you could be my demon. And I was, but now you going through it, making the muse, or you're not my muse. You could be my, my downfall, basically, is what. So that makes sense. But at first I was like, huh. But
it started in my confused lyrics. Thing. It started in my what the hell is Tweedy talking about category, and then the more I thought about it, I'm like, oh no, I got it, and I moved it out and moved it up to my good lyrics one. So it
is good.
It shifted. So it went from what are you talking about to, oh, I get you. All right, we have connected now, Mr. Tweedy.
So you like you said, you took it out, and now I take it out because it makes sense. It's just at first I was like, that's weird, but those are the only ones that really got me. And then, but as I gave, like you said, as you give it a couple of second, third, fourth listens, you're like, okay, and then you're like, it dawns on you.
I got a lot from I'm trying to break your heart. I got we can dig into this one in many characters. Now I've already given my interpretation. It's the rambling, probably from the first lyrics. I'm an aquarium drinker, which means, all right, he's not drinking fish. That means he is a
heavy drinker.
He's a heavy drinker. So now he's not only that dude raving down the street, he's that drunk dude raving down the street. So as I'm now envisioning this song of him just spitting out random things, I kind of grab some of them. So some I can appreciate other ones, I'm still going to say it doesn't work. So I assassin down the avenue. So I, he verbed a noun, but I have verbed a noun too. Sublime. My dad discovered Sublime later in life and proceeded to play them to the point that I can't hear a Sublime song without wanting to run out of the room. And now I turned it into a verb. I'm like, oh, damn it, he sublimed that one. So I too have noun a verb. So just like Tweety, when someone burns something out, like, oh, don't sublime this for me, that's what it's become. And my family understands, because anytime you went near my dad, he would be playing only Sublime, but only one of their albums. Then I said, Dad, they got like 3 albums. Then he sublimed those ones too. So I'm like, all right, it's too late. They've all been sublimed for me. So
excuse me. Did you, okay, maybe you got it. Take off your Band-Aid, because I don't believe in touchdowns.
That is on my list, and it makes no damn sense. And I'm like, okay, some of these ones I can give you, like, okay, I assassin down the avenue. He's walking he's that purpose. Drunk dude muttering to himself.
Yeah,
I got you. But no, that one was my first lyric. That was what made this category come into existence.
Yeah.
Because I thought, all right, that is just ridiculous. There's no interpretation besides drunken raving guy who's just saying a bunch of random shit as they do. I've seen this drunken random guy, and I didn't understand anything he was saying either. So if Tweety is, acting as the random drunken guy walking down the street wildly and raving, then okay, it makes sense, because it doesn't make sense because he's just muttering some stuff. So that one, yeah, that was the lyric that created this category, because I thought there's no interpretation of that. It's fucking ridiculous. My notes on that as I was listening were, what in the actual fuck are you talking about?
Good song, but I don't understand.
Oh, no. When I reinterpreted the song and I looked at it as the ravings of a lunatic walking down a street, then I was like, okay, now I can interpret it in that way, where the lyrics don't need to make sense because it's the ravings of a lunatic. So if it is the ravings of a lunatic, then it's all right. And then you're quite a quiet domino, bury me now.
What?
There's another one. So I saw that was in there, and I thought, okay, if we're looking at it as the ravings of a lunatic, then it works, because this is the kind of stuff a lunatic walking down the street would say. It doesn't need to make sense because the person saying it isn't making sense. You just, yeah, you're quite a domino, you bury me now. And it's like, I see the drunken guy flailing his arms around, saying those kind of things. And yeah, you put that and you think of the raving guy. Yeah, take off your Band-Aid, because I don't even believe in touchdowns. Like, all right, when he's singing it so mellow, it doesn't work. It almost needs to be punk rocked, that one.
Yeah.
Because it's just the ravings of a lunatic. And in that interpretation, I see those lyrics as they don't need to make sense. But really, what the hell is he talking about? That one was that one created this category, because I thought that is, some of them work, some of them don't in this song, and that one is just, it is pure cringeworthiness, and it does not work. But in the context of a raving lunatic, it works fine. It does its job as a raving lunatic running, assassinating down the avenue and making a lot of complaints about his woman. So that's what this song became. And that's how I then learned to appreciate it as the ravings of a lunatic. And if it's not that and it meant something else, no, then it's just,
yeah, I will agree with you on this one, because, but again, and anybody out there listening, it doesn't take away that it's a good song.
It's a good song. And lyrically, if you're writing it to be the ravings of a lunatic, then it's perfect. Successful, because there's just the random things someone would say. And I could actually envision some drunken lunatic walking down the street saying things exactly like that, because they're not understandable. And even if you tried to stop them and converse with them, which I don't recommend, you wouldn't get a coherent sentence because there's too much alcohol. The aquarium drinker has drunk too much aquarium, and there's no reason, there's no rational conversation.
And I would warn
that's
against,
where I kind of look at this song.
And I would warn against assassin down an avenue. Do not assassin down an avenue. You might get assassined yourself.
Don't assassin down an avenue, and don't sublime songs, please.
Don't sublime songs. I love it.
So yeah,
the fact, that's going to be, that's, you just verbed a noun. I love it.
I verbed a noun before I knew of this one, and I'm like, I can't complain because I verbed a noun too. And and then April will even say like, oh man, that one got sublimed for me. So it's like, yep,
there you go.
It becomes part of our family's lexicon, because anyone who hung around my dad when he went through his sublime phase, they know he sublimed the hell out of everything. So yes, we don't want to assassin down the avenue or sublime songs. Both should be avoided. All right. So what are we skipping on this album?
You guys, they're probably the best. They're probably really good songs. I'm just not a fan of them. I don't like War on War, and I don't like Ashes of American Flags. And no, they're not
political songs.
They're not political songs or anti-war songs.
No.
Probably they're just, I mean, I know what he's saying, but they're boring. I think I almost feel like if he had upbeated it a little bit.
Yeah, especially I think War on War is upbeat enough, but it just doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
In my thoughts either. Yeah. I'm with you on that one.
And Ashes of American Flags, I don't want to be down, especially on I understand what he's saying, and it's all about disillusion and I mean, again, it's not a political song. Don't anybody?
No, not at all.
This was written even before 9/11. It came out after 9/11, but written before 9/11. I was doing my research because I wanted to know on that one, but I feel like it was just too down.
Yeah,
but I totally get his emotion behind it. Mm-hmm. It's an emotional song. It's a good. I'm trying to think of how to put it. It's not angry.
No,
he's not angry. It's not even. This is not no Green Day song or anything like that. No. It's just. Maybe it's a good line. I would like to salute the ashes of American flag. I just maybe don't like it. It's a good line, but I don't like it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfectly. And I think that one I didn't like. I mean, a lot of these descend into weird noise, but this one could have done with an edit. And I think that's where the record label really failed, was they didn't come in and say, okay, look, there's good stuff here. There's stuff that needs a little bit of an edit. Now, would he have been willing to? I doubt it. I mean, I think he was very resolute in everything that happened on this album. I mean, down to the noise that, closes one song and moves into another. He wasn't going to hear it from his own bandmates. So of course he's not going to hear it from the record label. And it probably would have led to a big, ugly fight and them still being kicked off the record label. But I think Ashes of American Flag could have lost a good 40 seconds. And, that's a good chunk of a song to lose. And it didn't grab me either. War on War, I had the same one. I just, honestly, from the opening, it lost me. This is a war on war. I'm like, ugh, no, pass. I'm skipping this one. And again, it got better as it went on, but I still it didn't really get me.
And it's not even a political, again, it's another one of those that's not even political.
Even though it's been kind of looked at as this kind of time capsule of 9/11, but it was streaming. It got put on streaming a few weeks after 9/11. They were actually going to put it on earlier, but because of 9/11, they held off putting it up there. So with that said, the fact that, the tall buildings shake and things like that, people look at it as, prophetic, they're prophets that are predicting things, but really it's not about that. None of these songs are. You look at the names of them and you might think that they're supposed to be about that, but it was recorded in 2000. So before this, and, lyrically, all these lyrics were written well before 9/11 occurred. So even though it gets looked at as that now, it was never meant to be.
And I could probably skip Reservations.
I had that on my skip list too.
Yep.
I put for that one, I think my notes were it's slow, dull, and way too long.
Way too long.
And I compared it with one of the songs I love. It's Goodbye Sky Harbor by Jimmy Eat World. That song is 16 minutes long, but it doesn't lose my interest. It's got movement. It could use a little editing. I'm not going to say it needs to be 16 minutes. And it's one of those things that closes out the CD. The song kind of closes at a moment with Goodbye Sky Harbor, and you think it could be over now. When they play it live, that's generally where it is over. Right. But it has a lot of different movements where it goes on for a long time, but it moves in different directions. It doesn't just go in a straight, boring line. And that's what Reservations felt to me, was it just goes in one straight, boring line. And I think it could have been taken off the album, and I think the album would have been stronger if it closed that out. Where we're talking about Shallow Water, we want some more. This one, I'll take a little bit less, where Reservations could get removed, and I think it would work just as fine.
I agree.
And then let's see, I had a lot of them I got close, like Poor Places. I almost put it on.
Almost.
And then it just so a lot of them kind of save themselves in the end, but I think all of them could do with a little bit of trimming, a little bit of editing. And that's the hard thing when you're dealing with someone. I mean, everyone who writes, there's stuff you could edit out, but it matters to you. It's important to you. So you don't edit it, but a reader or a listener could say this needs an edit.
Right.
And the artist is going to say why it's important. And that's fine. As an artist, Tweety knows a hell of a lot more about songwriting than I'll ever know. And, he had his reasoning for all the things, but it just kind of left me thinking, okay, this would be better with a little bit less of this and a little bit less of that. And I think he's getting into that's where you get the Jim O'Rourke of it all, where Jim O'Rourke, who worked with Sonic Youth definitely could use a lot of editing on a lot of their songs.
A lot of songs.
And I love Sonic Youth, don't get me wrong, but they got songs that go on 2 or 3 minutes longer than they need to, where they kind of just descend into noise fuzz. And bringing in Jim O'Rourke, who works with, the king and the kings and queen of noise rock with Sonic Youth, that he's not going to think, oh, let's less. He's going to say more noise, more distortion to drive the song. And I from what I've heard, their next album gets even deeper into long, noisy, interludes of the songs, which is not screaming for me to go pick it up. I'll say that much with the Wilco fans that I've heard say that, it's even noisier and more experimental, because now you have just Tweety and Jim O'Rourke. You no longer have someone telling him to edit, where, the whole thing with this album with Jay Bennett and Tweety kind of butting heads, it did lead to probably some edits that needed to happen that won't happen now when you got Jim O'Rourke. Like, that's it. More noise. Noise is good.
Right.
So I think that's what you get in the next album from what I've heard. And like I said, I have not heard it. And will I? I don't know. If you're a Wilco fan and you don't hate us by now, then please drop it in the comments and tell me if I do need to listen to it. Because maybe I do. Maybe I'm wrong and it's something I need to dig out. But I think in the end, we got to talk about what we're going to do with this one. So what do you think? You keeping this one, or are you returning it to the used bin?
I'm going to keep it. Like I said, I can, there's only 3 songs I'm really skipping. You got 11 songs. So you got, 8 more songs on there that you can enjoy, and things like that. And so, while it'll probably be middle of the pack.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not putting it at the back of the pack. I'll put it in the middle of the pack.
No, it's not the back. And I think
No.
I think I'm keeping it because I feel like it has room to grow.
Yeah.
It's one of those albums like Kid A from Radiohead that I think more time with it will unlock more. And I think that is one thing I can say very strongly about this album is it will reward multiple listens. There's soundscapes and noises that are hidden and you can dig into them and find a lot more. That there is more to unlock in this album. And I'll spend some more time with it because of that. And I'll spend time listening to it. I'll give it another couch listen on vinyl because that's the true way. Because listening to it in my car, listening to it on my run, which I did not get through a run with it. It was not a great running album, so it got shuffled aside, and I played more of our next week album, which does do better on a run. And
yes.
I am keeping this album. I'm gonna revisit it. I'm gonna try to learn to appreciate it more, kind of like I did with Kid A, where it ended up becoming an album I can appreciate, I can enjoy. There's still the title track on Kid A I still find to be abysmal. I hate it. I actually do skip it on vinyl, which is saying something because it's a pain in the ass to skip something on vinyl, but I'll take the effort because I hate it that much. But this one doesn't have any, besides the last song, which being the last song, it makes it too damn easy. I just stand up, take the needle off, and the album is now over to me. So
I can stop with what is it? Pot? No,
pot. The Pot Kettle Black, is that it?
I Poor Places.
You stop with Poor Places is the one after that one, And Poor Places, I think, is where I think the album should have ended.
Should have stopped.
Yep. And I think that, it would have been better suited to be a B-side. I think if they put Reservations and it was a B-side, it would be a solid B-side where you don't expect B-sides to be album quality. And that as a B-side, I think would have been successful. But as an A-side album on the album, it leaves me flat. So I think we both came on that one, but I'm not going to give up on this album. I think there is a lot to unlock. And I think if you're a Wilco fan, like I said, if you don't hate me by now, we tried to be subjective, and I did get a couple things wrong in the beginning. I do apologize, but like I said, I wrote my notes, and sometimes you get them wrong.
So, you can still be a fan and be very critical. Just remember that. So I nothing wrong with the album, and I can be critical of it, and like you said, give time to grow.
Yeah, I think this could be an album that will grow through time. So I'm hoping that that's what I find. But the thing is, we listen to a lot. So how soon will I revisit it? I don't know, but I'll definitely be revisiting this one. But next week is going to be good. Next week we have Goon, Dream 3, and we're not just talking about the album. We will have Kenny Becker, who is the lead singer and songwriter of the band Goon, to talk to us about the album. So he's going to be live. Our last interview was not live, still was amazing. Don't get me wrong. But you can actually, if you go out next week, your job is to go out, your homework, listen to the Goon album between now and then, and come up with some questions for him. So you can ask questions as well. So we'll be live streaming. He'll be joining us live on the show. And if you want to know anything about the recording process, his writing process, you can drop it in the comments and he can answer your questions live. That's the one thing about last week's interview. Even if you had a question, it would be harder to get to him. I mean, I could have sent it to him. I could have messaged to him and got it back to you later. But next week, you can talk to him directly. He'll be here live in the studio. We'll talk with him, do our interview, and then we'll let him go and we'll talk about our thoughts about this album. But spoiler alert, if I bring him on the show, that means I like the album, because I'm not going to pull someone on the show, be like, hey, thanks for this interview, and now we're going to talk a ton of shit about your album. So
I'm not going to diss you in front of your.
We don't bring them on unless we have some love for or at least for me. I just kind of reach out to bands that I really enjoy the album of and hope that they'll come on, and we have that. And then we actually have Another interview lined up for March. It will be a text interview. We've done one text interview with our Flamingo Overlords, but that was a wacky text interview. So this will be a more straight ahead text interview, but with the band Shaking Hand from England. So that's why we're doing it via like a written interview, because trying to get time zones aligned would be a tricky endeavor. So yeah, they just got back to me yesterday. So I'm going to be putting together the interview questions for them. Another great album, kind of in the same vein as Shallow Water. Very, very long songs. I think it's 7 songs, 41 minutes. So the same kind of thing, like longer songs. But I think when we were talking with Tristan, he's right. I mean, I think this generation is getting more patient. They want longer, more intricate songs and less, TikTok 30-second clips. So I'm glad that that's what's happening, that we're getting these younger bands that are giving us longer, more interesting songs. And they don't have to be left to the post-rock Godspeed You Black Emperors out there who've been doing it for a long time. It's like, let some of the youth kick in here and bring their stuff. So yeah, I like what's going on. And yeah, definitely excited to be talking about Goon's new album next week. So
yeah, that's gonna be a fun interview.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. And until then, I will be back on Saturday. Dash, you'll be back on Sunday with your show. So tune in, and we'll see you next week talking live with Goon.
Bye.
Jose